Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Inventor Club. Here we are, January 2025. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to start the year off. Even though it's 30 days in, it's still the new year, especially here at National Inventor Club. I sent a message out on social media wishing all of you continued success, the start of success, wherever you are, to keep your invention ideas moving forward. So that's the goal of what we have planned and in store for National Inventor Club this year. As you know, we are rolled into the Inventor Smart Community app, which I'm very excited about. We have now hit 1,500 members and growing. National Inventor Club is well over five figures of people who are in our network. So we are continuing to grow and growing quickly. And we very much appreciate all the support from our sponsors and most importantly to our membership that is continuing to make our community strong. And we'll hear from Samantha St. Raymond and hopefully Sean Taylor will come in a little while. They are active in the Inventor Smart Community app as well as Andy, who is our VP of Operations. You see all those amazing emails and newsletters, and we got a good team. So let's get started, and let's bring in, this is really interesting because I love the Inspired Home Show. I've been going to the Inspired Home Show, which is a trade show for the housewares, kitchen electrics, storage. I believe there's now pet. There's many different categories that are within the Inspired Home Show. And Lori is here to share. Maybe you'd like to be an exhibitor. Maybe you'd like to be a visitor. And guess what? They have an inventors area, which Lori will tell us about. And from National Inventor Club and the Inventor Smart Community app, we have some things that are going on as well. So if you do decide, after you hear what Lori has to say, if you do decide to come, then definitely let me know, myself, Samantha, Andy, that you're coming. And we are going to have some fun. We're definitely having some get-togethers. But before we go into that, let's hear from Lori. So this is Lori, and I want to say your last name. It's not just Lori. It's Lori Sadurek, right?
Thanks a lot, Brian. Yep, you got it. I'm Lori Sadurek. I'm with the Inspired Home Show. As Brian said, we run a trade show in Chicago. It will be the 2nd through the 4th of March. So it's coming right up. We're Brian thinks of the successes you guys will have through the year. We're thinking of our first big bang in the year from Chicago, which is the Inspired Home Show. We'll be celebrating our 125th show this year. And our products at the show are clean and contain products, dine and decor products, travel gear and luggage, and wired and well. And those are products that plug in your kitchen, but not large white goods. And the idea behind our show is putting buyers and sellers together and then moving out of the way. We're a not-for-profit trade association. And we've been in the home and houseware space, like I said, for 125 shows. And one of the greatest things that we have at our show is an expo that's a destination expo called the Inventors Corner. And during the show, we have inventors that we bring together in a kiosk turnkey package that allows them to exhibit, bring their product to market, and learn from the buyers, learn from the other suppliers, and learn from the other inventors that are there exhibiting their products. And it's a great opportunity to learn from the home and housewares buyers that cover those categories that I mentioned at the beginning. So any products for your home, a wonderful opportunity for anyone just getting into the market with their invention. And one of the possibilities for all of the inventors that exhibit in our Inventors Corner is the opportunity to pitch their product to a panel of professionals. We call it Pitch to the Pros, and we bill it as a Shark Tank-like opportunity where you present your product as an inventor and you hear feedback from experts in the industry. So I just want to thank Brian and his community, National Inventor Club, for having us here tonight to talk a little bit about that. And as Brian said, he'll be at the show with some of his team, And there's going to be some things that Brian and his team will be doing. So reach out to Brian if you'd like to exhibit with us, or if you'd like to attend. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. And Lori and I are going to be doing an interview together probably next week. We still have a little time, but start preparing if you are an inventor and like to exhibit at one of the largest trade shows in the country, the Inspired Home Show in Chicago at McCormick Place, March 2nd
to the 4th.
Through the 4th. And if you're watching this years from now, this is 2025. But I have to say that the Inspired Home Show changed my life. I happened to meet a buyer at QVC there when I first started, and I was looking to license my inventions. And I met the buyer, and I was part of the pitching to the buyers there. And then I was moderating some of the events there. And I've been part of the family of the Inspired Home Show for many, many years. And it's a great opportunity for you, whether you have an invention, maybe it's a prototype, maybe you're looking to license it, maybe you're looking for buyers, to find a way to exhibit. And if you're not exhibiting, then come attend. And National Inventor Club and the Inventor Smart Community app, we're going to have events at the show throughout the day, and probably a little after meeting somewhere in town. So thank you, Lori. We appreciate
Thanks, Brian,
you joining us today, telling us about it, and we'll get a little bit deeper into it and share it with the community next week.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you
Brian.
So much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks. Yes.
Thanks. All right. One thing that we love to do here is inspire and educate. And SBDC is the Small Business Development Center. They're a division of the Small Business Administration, SBA. And Pierre Lespinas, he is from the Farmingdale Small Business Development Center. He's a business advisor, and he's a regular here on National Inventor Club. But there are small business development centers throughout the country, most likely on a campus near you. But today, we have Pierre with us. So Pierre, I know that you have some tips and advice to the inventors, entrepreneurs, startups, whatever we call ourselves. Help us out.
Okay, I'm glad to be back in 2025 with the National Inventors Club. All the inventors that are listening have probably been in their journey from invention to potential commercialization. You've either done it or you've heard it. You understand what a proof of concept is. You probably have done one, if not in your kitchen, in your backyard, or in your shop. But that's when you take the idea and you say, I can prove that it has at least a very established potential to be functionally work. This thing can work. Okay. Another step into that journey that I'm sure you've probably heard of is the molding and the tooling aspect when you do want to produce it for sale. It can get very expensive. As a matter of fact, the more unique your project, the more expensive it could be, because no one has the tools or the mold to actually scale what you've invented. So there's some investment there. But here's my tip for the day. You may or may not have heard of something called proof of commercial viability. What is that? This is when, having invested, let's say, in a mold or tooling, you pick the lowest possible minimum quantity requirement, and you go out there and you actually try to sell the thing that you've invented. You don't have to make 1 million of them. You don't have to have sold 1 million of them. But it takes you much closer to someone who may want to license it or invest money for you to scale. What you would have proven is beyond it being feasible. Having demonstrated the proof of concept, now you've proven on a small scale, a micro scale, that it has real potential to be commercially viable. You are entering in a very different conversation if you can do that. And that's my tip for today.
Thank you so much, Pierre. Small Business Development Center, you can go to the Americas SBDC and find a location near you that you can go in. You can get tips and advice from a business advisor in your area. You can walk right in. You can set up an appointment online with them. Pierre, if you connect up with Pierre, which maybe you can put in the chat for us, how to get in touch with you. But if you're looking for business plan advice, if you're looking to find local resources in your area, your local SBDC can help you. So, and it's all free. Thank you so much, Pierre. We'll see you again soon. Tell everybody in Farmingdale SBDC we say hello and thank you for your support.
Absolutely.
Take care. All right. Let's have our sponsor. Here we go. Yaksha Tomik, he is from the Patent Professor, one of our sponsors that always has great tips and advice, and he's been on before. Yaksha, tell us what you have for us tonight.
Sure. Thanks again, Brian, for having me on. We're the Patent Professor. We represent more small inventors probably than any other firm in the country. And one thing we constantly see is that inventors are interested in getting their idea off the ground, but there's a balancing act of when they go for a patent and when they start producing their invention. And our idea, our concept, what we usually tell people is to provide a general scope of your idea, but at the same time that you're applying for a patent, to simultaneously be engineering your design as to how you're going to produce your invention. Because you could have a great paper concept, but if it doesn't prove to be workable in the real world, then you have a problem. And another tip to take to heart is that there are more than just utility patents at the United States Patent and Trademark Office, which you can take advantage of. There's something called design patents. And design patents offer another avenue of protection, which is often quicker and more readily accessible to get protection for. For example, they could cover any unique aspect of the appearance of your invention, especially if your product has a unique appearance or unique design. That could definitely be the subject of a design patent application and provide you with valuable protection while you're waiting to get protection for a provisional or utility patent application. So that's generally my advice for today.
Thank you so much. So the Patent Professor is located in, where's your main headquarters?
Our main office is in Coral Springs, Florida, in the Southwest Florida. Yep.
Great. And you provide patent help and trademarks and office actions and
the whole spectrum. We provide all sorts of patent preparation and prosecution, from patent applications to trademarks, some copyright work as well. So we cover the whole spectrum of intellectual property for inventors, especially small inventors. We tend to focus on small inventors, and that's been our mainstay for many, many years.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and your support. Please tell John we say hello. We'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's have John Lee. He's from PICFU. And for those of you who have not yet given PICFU a try, you definitely should. So, John, if you can tell us some words of wisdom for us as inventors and entrepreneurs, wherever we are in our journey, we probably need an opinion from somebody that's not our best friend or our family member, that if they tell us that our idea stinks, we'd probably never talk to them again. So you have a way for us to put whatever information that we need or questions that we have. What price should we make our product? What's the sweet spot? Does my logo look better this way or that way, or version 1 or version 2? Is the iteration of my product better this way or that way? Do you think there's enough of a demand for my product before I even start to work on it? And you have a community that, under non-disclosure agreement, that we could feel comfortable, list our kind of question survey, and we can make our own better decision. Does that sound about right?
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian. Yeah. So just adding on to what Brian said, Yeah, you can think of PickFu like a digital focus group, right? Lets you instantly crowdsource feedback on your product ideas, designs, logos, marketing creatives, literally in a matter of minutes. So PickFu has a panel of over 15 million US consumers who will tell you what they like or dislike about your product design, help you choose which logo or packaging is better. All of this starts at $1 per response. So 15 responses for $15, typically in under 10 minutes. All you do is ask a simple question, upload your creative or up to 8 creatives, choose your audience. You can target by your target audience. And we go out and find those consumers who will answer those questions and give you feedback. So this month, the tip that I have is focusing on testing your product names to ensure that they resonate with your target market. Because you want your name to effectively communicate your product's purpose, right? We all remember notable names that we've seen on TV or in the shops, and we've also heard of the really weird product names, and you want to make sure that you don't fall in that latter category. You know, as inventors and creators, we often become attached to certain product names, like when you first think of that idea, and they make perfect sense to us, but not to your consumer necessarily, right? They might confuse or mislead. So if you use PickFu's platform, you can quickly validate whether your product name clearly conveys the purpose and appeals to that target audience. And all you need to do is create a poll, put in your 2 or 3 or 4 product name options, and then you just write your own question, right? Like ask which name best describes what your product does, and you can put a description of your product. And then you launch that poll, and right away you can get feedback on whether it's option A, B, C, D, E, or whatever. And the most important part of this is that you want to get that name right before you go and you apply for your patent, or you know, go out there, do your packaging and so on. Because if you make a mistake on your naming, you're going to have to involve a costly rebrand later. So validating that name early on in your journey is super valuable. With PickFu, we are offering a coupon for the Inventor Smart community. The coupon code is inventor, just the word inventor, and that gets you 50% off your first poll. So if you want, that's just $7.50 for feedback from 15 US respondents delivered in minutes. So that's my tip for the month.
Thank you so much, John. It's gold. It really is. It's just sometimes you just have to know. And yeah. It's just, you don't know these people, but the feedback that you get is they don't know you and you don't know them. So they just tell you like it is. Some people, you could tell they had a bad day, and some people are very into it, and you just balance it out. But all the statistics to be able to make a decision is definitely useful. So thank you, and Justin, for your support. PickFu.com is one of our proud sponsors. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate
it. See you again soon. So, by the way, with our sponsors in the Inventor Smart Community app, we do have a sponsor and partner area. We also have our newsletters that go out. So our sponsors are part of the Inventor Smart Community app, National Inventor Club, in the newsletter. So we definitely appreciate their support. We have Fiverr, Sona, we have patent awards. We have a lot of sponsors and partners that we continue to build and grow on that want to be in front of our community and provide us services and discounts and support. So check it out when you're in the Inventor Smart Community app. Speaking of the Inventor Smart Community app, we have our VP of Community, Samantha St. Raymond. And I know that you've been busy working with, now we do have freemium and we have premium insiders that are within the Inventor Smart Community app. And for those who are premium insiders, you seem to be keeping them busy and they're keeping you busy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to, Samantha?
Well, we've started our Inventor Spotlight podcast, and thanks to you, it's streaming on every platform available, which I think it just shows to the commitment to this community and our independent inventors. So Andy and I are getting there together, and Andy's behind the scenes, and we're just doing a bunch of interviews with all our premium subscribers and just getting to know their stories, how they came up with their invention, what inspired them, what their challenges are, what their triumphs are. And it's just a very candid, fun conversation. And it's just our way to capture these stories. And like you mentioned earlier, maybe you'll look back in a few years and kind of reflect on where you've been and kind of where you're going. So we have already recorded 15 episodes and looking to put 16, 17, 18 on deck. So if anybody out there in our community or you're a premium subscriber, please just get a hold of me, sam@inventorsmart.com, and we will get you on the schedule. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's a very personal time, and people are being really open and candid about their experience. And I think we all have a story that's raw and emotional, because this is a crazy journey that we're on as inventors. And it's a great reminder that we're not alone, and we really are in this together, and we can learn from one another.
Awesome. Well, we are the Inventor Spotlight, which you're hosting with the premium subscribers. It's on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and a bunch of other ones. So congratulations. I see that we're having a good amount of people that are listening. You can find it if you're in any of those podcasts, but we also have them in the Inventor Smart Community app. So if you are not part of it, it's very easy. You can download it on Google Play or Apple App Store and just look up Inventor Smart Community, and you are part of us and part of National Inventor Club. So we hope to see you there very soon if we haven't already. And we have all kinds of activity going on, right, Samantha? We have social media, we have events, Q&A sessions, book clubs. Let me get Andy in here. Where is he? Is he camera ready? What's up, Andy? There he is.
How's it going?
Tech support, VP of operations. He's got a lot of titles, but Andy behind the scenes putting all this together. And we're excited about 2025. We have a lot of fun things ahead. We're going to do live events. We're always going to have online events, but we're going to make some rounds in different parts of the country and connect everybody up together. And we're going to have fun. And especially coming up in
just
Chicago.
going to say, and it's only January. It's only January, and we're just getting started for the year. I know I'm going to Chicago at the end of, or the beginning of March. So I know Brian said you're going to talk a lot more about that later, but just plug in the people's ear. I'm in St. Louis, so it's a hop, skip, and a jump for me. So I hope to see some of our members in the Midwest this time.
Great. Andy, any words of wisdom for 2025 for us?
Just keep on rocking. It's a great community, and it's so nice to be part of it with all of you. And I'm happy to support it as best I can. So, like Samantha said, if there's anything you need or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm Andy@inventorsmart.com, or you could just message me in the app.
Thank you so much, Andy. All right, we'll see you very soon, and let's have Samantha. I think you wanted to bring Deanna. She is one of our premium subscribers in the app. So nice to meet you, Deanna. We've seen you.
Speaking of members and community, welcome Deanna. She's a new member to the Inventor Smart community and the National Inventor Club. We're so happy to have you. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, a little bit about what you're working on. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. Hi, folks. My name's Deanna, and I live in San Diego, California, and I created the Go Deck. The Go Deck products make getting out and about easy and fun for all ages and abilities. Not to mention, they help people connect with one another. They just help people create memories that'll last a lifetime. I have two product lines within the Go Deck brand. The first is a City Deck series. Each City Deck features 52 different outdoor locations where people can go and create those memories, connect with each other. So you can have a new adventure every week of the year in that city. The other product line is a games collection. And these games are help people, even when they're on the go with their family, connect, build those relationships while having a ton of fun. So my website is thegodeck.com, and I look forward to meeting more of the members within the community. Thanks for having me.
This is what I love about this community. There's so many creative people. Everybody's got fresh ideas, different things, and we all come together. Welcome to the community. I can't wait till we can all meet in person. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. We'll continue our chats in the app. Thank you. All right. So, Samantha, we are going to have our feature activity of the night. We have Elizabeth Dougherty, who's actually with us, and the Eastern Outreach Office of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office hosted us in November of 2024. It seems like so long ago, but 2024, but it was only a couple of days ago. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. I know that you're traveling, and you took some time out to come join us to kind of introduce what we're going to be seeing this evening, which is a replay of when our National Inventor Club community, whoever was able to join us in Alexandria, Virginia, was hosted by you and your colleagues for a great day. So thank you,
Brian,
for joining us.
I am so excited to be with you and Samantha and your entire audience this evening. And I'm so excited that this robust program that we held there in person at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office headquarters is going to continue to have legs and add value to the inventor community, because the information that was shared there that day was so incredible. We brought some really great speakers to the table. We had some great networking opportunities. So to be able to keep that momentum alive and to be able to share it tonight and continue to do so over this entire year and build upon it as we continue to collaborate. I'm so excited, and I think this is a brilliant idea that you've had to bring it out tonight.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And if you can share with us before we actually start the replay, I have a couple of things. Number one, I'd love to hear if there's any information as far as events coming up, activities, anything that the inventor community can know that you're kind of to keep us in the loop. I know that the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website, there's all kinds of new updates and things going on. Whatever you can share with us, because I know there's a lot of activity behind the scenes going on. But if there's some tips and advice for us, we'd appreciate it.
Well, of course, I always encourage people to visit our website, www.uspto.gov, and to particularly go to our calendar section, our calendar of events, because we are continuing to push out excellent programming on a wide variety of topics. We're working on a series called Successful Inventing. That's a monthly series conducted with the Licensing Executive Society chapter of Silicon Valley. But we also have our Path to a Patent, our Trademark Bootcamp series. There's so many great things that are coming forward. Now, as far as big scale programs and rollouts, I think those are yet to be seen. So I want you to keep an eye out and hold your breath, because there's going to be some great stuff coming out this year.
That's great. And if everybody should know this website, uspto.gov, on every single page of the website, all the way at the bottom, there's a place for you to enter your email address and subscribe. And anything that's going on relative to what you're interested in, because you check off what you'd like, you'll receive emails of trademark boot camps, virtual events that are happening in your area. And just being in the know of knowing what's going on, like the reduction in patent fees. I'm just kidding. No, just if there's any activities that are going on.
You make a good point, Brian. We do want people to check that fee schedule, because there have been some recent changes to the fee schedule. Some fees went up, but some fees also went down. So I want people to be sure and check, because we want you to pay the right fee from the very get-go.
Thank you so much. Samantha, any kind of comments on the day before we get started?
Well, just like the year before, we left there just feeling so connected to our process, so much more alive in what we were doing because we were more informed. And I think it was a really personal touch with the panel there. We were able to do questions and answers and just have that personal time with your organization. And just being in the building is, for an inventor, is just an experience in itself. So we are so grateful to the USPTO and to you for having us out and your continued relationship with us. It's really special, and it's we have a lot of gratitude. So thank you very much. Can't wait to come again this year.
Well, we look forward to it. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to host the inventor community, the National Inventor Club, in the home that invention built. So we are there to support, empower, and encourage our inventor community. So we welcome having you with us and look forward to building this year's agenda.
Thank you so much. Samantha, we will all catch you in the app. You're pretty active in there, posting and commenting. So thank you for all your continued support and making our community very active. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you in the app. And if you have any questions, you want to be on that podcast with me, sam@inventorsmart.com. Let's get you on the schedule.
Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. Elizabeth, I had one more thing, if you can help explain.
Please.
to the audience. We met, I think it was sometime in the beginning of last year, and you gave me a gift. It was this pen.
Oh, yes.
And I've been using it. I don't want to burn out the ink too quick. I know I can probably get the refill, but this pen that you gave me, can you explain to the audience what this is?
Brian, I'd be happy to. That's a very special gift that my team and I at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office have homemade. We have handcrafted it ourselves, and it's given to special friends of the USPTO. People like Brian, people like some of our retiring or departing executive officials, people that have had an impact on our world of invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship. It's a pen that we have crafted out of the wood of a historic patent shoe case. For those of you who aren't familiar with the lore, the history of the patent shoe case, it used to be when patent examiners like myself searched in hard copy. When we searched the patents in printed paper, they were stored in what were called shoe cases. These shoe cases, and there's still a couple on our campus, is kind of a throwback and a bit of memory and memorabilia and tribute to our history. These shoe cases were originally made of wood. We later in our history transitioned to metal. But now that we search entirely virtually, these shoe cases have gone the way of history. They have gone with time. But as we have moved them in our office, some of them have suffered from the movement, the use, and some of them, the wood just came apart. But so my team and I were given the opportunity to salvage that historic wood, that wood that tells the story of the patent system, and use that pen, that wood to actually create pens. Now, again, they're a hard to come by, very special, unique feature, but we were certainly proud to share one with Brian, given his impact in our community and all he does for inventors. So it was our honor, Brian, to gift you with one of these special pens.
I love it. I use it as much as I can, but as little as I can. I don't want to take it out too much.
Oh, well, I'm glad you cherish it, because we cherish you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And on that note, thank you. You make me blush. We are going to replay our experience, National Inventor Club, in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office headquarters. And I think we have, Andy, if we have the agenda that Elizabeth and her team put together to be able to show. And then we're going to start the video. And we're going to play the video from when we got there till about where we broke for lunch. And then maybe we'll have the part 2. This is about 1 hour. So if you want, grab some popcorn, whatever type of drink you like, and sit back and enjoy. And then when it's done, we're gonna maybe say goodbye, and then we'll see you again in the Inventor Smart Community app and National Inventor Club activity. So here, let's see if we can get this a little bit closer. This is the agenda. I think this is page 2. So we have one more page. I think there was 2 pages, but if you don't have it, that's okay. Oh, there it is. So this is what we were greeted with at the table in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in Alexandria, Virginia, Friday, November 15th. And you're going to hear more from Elizabeth Dougherty and the history of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, a day in the life of a patent examiner. So, hey, we send our patents in we send our application in, what happens behind the scenes. And we can find out more about that in this video, in the replay. And then also a focus on trademarks, which is really excellent. And it'll help you with continuing to build your intellectual property assets. So, Elizabeth, don't have to keep you on here for the whole time, but we're going to hear you give your introduction in the video. And we appreciate you very much. And we look forward to a lot of activity together in 2025 between you and the other regional outreach directors all over the country. And if you could just share with us just for a moment, if we're not in the Northeastern Regional Outreach area, how we can find one in ours.
Certainly. Well, first and foremost, you can go to our website and find the USPTO in your region. That'll identify for you the region and the regional office. But I can also just tell you very quickly, there are regional offices located in Detroit, Denver, Dallas, and San Jose. Now, there's also a regional office slated to open in Atlanta this year, but I don't know what the status of that office is, so I can't tell you exactly when those doors are going to open. Hopefully, we'll know sometime in the not too distant future. We have also opened up our first ever community outreach office, and that is in Durham, New Hampshire. And we have positioned an employee there, and he is beginning to build the community in the states of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. So while one of these may not be directly next door, there's certainly one in a region you live in, and they would love to engage with you. Thank you, Elizabeth. We'll see you again soon. And good luck with all the activity and the transition at the USPTO. But I know that you continue to do great work there and put out some great content and events and activities. And we hope to see you again very soon. Thank you so much. Brian. And I'd love for your audience to know we are continuing and diligently working to do the 2 core missions of the USPTO, issuing U.S. patents and federally registering U.S. trademarks, working on pendency issues, and really putting all firepower possible to those 2 efforts. And then, of course, also continuing to educate, empower, and demystify. Thanks for having me on, and enjoy the show. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, so let's have Andy help us out here. And we are going to start this video. This is the replay of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office field trip with the National Inventor Club. And check it out and get educated, get inspired, get some of your questions answered. And hopefully we'll see you at the end to close it out. If not, we will have this continuing to replay. Right now, we are live streaming on all social media. We have many people within the app that are watching this, and we're happy and proud to share this with you. So, Andy, let's get it going. Enjoy.
Well, good morning and welcome. What a special day this is. Not only is it Friday, and we all know that anything is possible on a Friday, it's also National Recycling Day and National Clean Out Your Fridge Day. I think these 2 might go hand in hand. Just a thought. Additionally, it was on this day in 1904 that King Camp Gillette received a patent for the disposable safety razor. Gillette's invention changed men's personal care, making it more convenient and safer to shave at home. Gillette sought to create a product that could be used, thrown away, and bought again. And all that goes against National Recycling Day and our efforts that we celebrate in sustainability. At the time, and even today, razors were expensive, and men typically used the same one for life. Moreover, the blade had to be sharpened before each use. Gillette struggled for years to find a way to make a blade inexpensively from a thin piece of metal that could be thrown away when it got dull. He worked with co-inventor William Nickerson, who helped to improve his design and built a machine that would harden, hone, grind, and shape the blades. The Gillette razor became the standard issue for U.S. soldiers during World War I. And by 1926, the Gillette Company produced 2.1 million blades each day, and men rarely went to barbers for a shave. Gillette's invention evolved over the years, and disposable razors became a familiar convenience in the daily lives of men and women alike. So why do I mention King Camp Gillette? Well, for starters, how does one get a name like King Camp Gillette? Seriously, though, not only is today the 120th anniversary of his patent, but he too, like many of you, faced challenges in both the development of his invention and the commercialization of it. As all too often is the case, success does not come overnight. However, today is indeed a special day. It's special because you are here, and you have chosen to give yourself the gift of education and information. I hope through our time together, you will gain insights, information, and points of contact here at the USPTO to help enhance, accelerate, and inform your invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship journey. Today is for you, and it's all about you, so make the most of it. I should also mention, with a quick peek at today's agenda, you will have a chance to tour the National Inventors Hall of Fame Museum. King Camp Gillette and over 600 other inventors are celebrated there. Inventors who have at least one patent, and that one patent has changed the world. It's a technology that is so ubiquitous we can't imagine our world without it. I look forward to seeing your names in the National Inventors Hall of Fame someday. So again, we are thrilled that you are here with us. At this time, I'd like to thank Brian and his entire team at the National Inventors Club, who have been such a wonderful collaborator in today's program and who are our constant support of, and source of education and empowerment for inventors. As you all know, Brian is a prolific inventor and a frequent flyer with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. He, however, does not use that to rest on his laurels. Instead, Brian uses his substantial knowledge, network, and resources to reach back and lift up any inventor in need of help. I want to sincerely thank Brian and his remarkable team for all they do today and every day in making it a special day for inventors. To turn to some brief housekeeping remarks, you should each have a copy of the agenda in front of you. We have a busy day, so we are going to work diligently to stay on schedule. We do want to welcome your questions during sessions, but where time is running short, we may ask that you approach the speaker after the session with your question. We appreciate your assistance in this regard. Where time permits, we do have a microphone in the aisle that can be used for audience questions. We are sharing our space today with an adjoining program, so we'll need to be respectful of the program directly next door. It's a gathering of senior government officials, though, so I don't expect it to get too crazy. Now, while we have not allotted time for breaks other than lunch, please feel free to get up at any time. The Roundhouse Cafe is open directly behind you, and we encourage you to make it your lunch option today. Restrooms are located in the hall directly out the back doors of the auditorium. And you're welcome to, again, step out at any time. Our moderator for the 1045 panel, Alford Kindred, has also graciously agreed to serve as our photographer. So we do anticipate taking some photos throughout the day. If you do not consent to having your photo taken, please let me or one of my team members know. And on that note, I will conclude with a note of praise and thanks to the team of the Northeast Regional Outreach Office and all of our colleagues here at the USPTO who have come together to support today's Inventor Day. We have helped to prepare for your visit both in working in the background and the foreground for the combined success. It is now my pleasure at this time to introduce a friend and colleague who serves in an incredibly unique role here at the USPTO as our agency's historian. As you will quickly find out, as inventors, you are joining a rich and diverse history, the history of our nation, in fact, and one which began with the passage of the first Patent Act. So please help me in welcoming Becky Oakes.
Good morning, everyone. How are y'all today? All right, so what better at 10:15 a.m. than some historical documents to look through? I hope you have all had your coffee. But today we're going to go through a very brief history of the USPTO as an agency, and also a little bit about the history of the patent system itself in America. So again, this is brief. We're just touching on a few of the kind of most important or landmark experiences, but I encourage you all as inventors to explore the rich history that you're part of, be inspired by inventors of the past who may have gone through, similar challenges to the things that you're going through today, and also recognize that you're kind of part of this legacy that's lasted as long as the nation itself. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I'm going to actually pull out a timepiece so that I do not go over time. All right. So as I mentioned, the history of the patent system in the United States is actually as old as the nation itself. And that began all the way back with the passage of the United States Constitution. So intellectual property rights, including what eventually became the patent system, were part of the foundations of America. As you can see here in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, the Constitution reads, "The Congress shall have the power to promote the progress and science of the useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries." So although it doesn't say the word patent, what they're really referring to is the idea of intellectual property protection for both inventions and for creative works, the foundation of what will eventually become our patent and our copyright system in America. So this is something that the founders felt was so important that they included it in the body of our foundational document. And it's actually the only individual right included in the body of the Constitution if you don't include the Bill of Rights. So it was that important, this idea of advancing technological progress and giving the inventors of those advancements a benefit and incentive to do so. But of course, with anything, innovation extends, its history extends even prior to our Constitution. So the US did a lot to advance intellectual property and the patent system, but invention and the idea of invention existed long before. So we have just a few examples here. So on the far left, you see a seal, which is from the Harappan civilization from about 2500 BC. And that seal functioned basically as a trademark. So when the Harappans would trade products with other civilizations, that seal would mark that that product came from the Harappans, and people would recognize it like a trademark functions for a brand today. In the middle, you have vulcanized rubber created by the Olmec civilization in Central America, dating back to about 1500 BC. And then on the far right, you have one of the most important inventions in world history, the printing press, allowing for the written word to easily be transmitted to the masses. These inventions all predate the US patent system, and there were a lot of different ideas about how those inventions should be protected in these various civilizations. So for example, some places thought invention belonged to everyone. There was no right for necessarily the inventor because it was a benefit to the civilization as a whole. Other places thought the inventions belonged to a lord or a monarch, someone who was, quote, in charge of a civilization or a nation or a region. What the United States did is democratized invention and put those rights back towards the inventor, and that's something that many intellectual property systems across the world have since emulated. But what did this early patent system look like? Well, if any of you have delved into kind of the early history of America, you know that there was a growing period where we had to figure things out, and the patent system is no exception to that. But again, this is something that the founders thought was extraordinarily important. In his first State of the Union address, so the first ever State of the Union address, George Washington actually brought this up, this idea of Congress empowering inventors, empowering this technological progress. And he asked Congress to take action, and they did. Just a few months later, in July of 1790, Congress passed the 1790 Patent Act, which was the first piece of legislation protecting intellectual property rights for invention in America. This established the first patent board, which at that time was composed of the Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson, the Secretary of War, Henry Knox, and the Attorney General of the United States, Edmund Randolph. So cabinet level positions tasked with examining patents and granting them. So I think you can all probably guess as to how busy cabinet level secretaries are. Got a lot going on. This was only one part of their duties, which meant that quickly it became clear that there needed to be some kind of other solution. These folks at the cabinet level could not necessarily sit down and properly examine every patent that came across their desk. And initially, the solution was to simplify the examination process. And when I say simplify, I mean really simplify. So you all are, I'm assuming inventors or aspiring inventors. You've probably heard a little bit about the patent process. You're going to hear a lot more about it today. In 1793, so just 3 years after this Patent Act was passed, Congress actually did away with the requirement that an invention be useful, important, and novel, which meant that examining basically meant that the application would be received. And regardless of patent's individual merits, if a person followed the instructions properly and paid the fee, it was very likely that that patent would be granted. So this was a little bit of a difference into how we see the patent system today. And the result was that a lot of our early patents, so for the first 40 years of United States history, those early patents don't necessarily tell us if something was new, novel, or even if the inventor listed on the patent was the inventor that actually created the process or the machine. What they do tell us is what was important to Americans at the time. So we see a lot of patents related to developing the infrastructure of the nation, yielding better crops, allowing for advancements in construction, like you see with the zinc roof patent on the screen there. Household recommendations, transportation, those are all fields that we see represented in these early group of patents. But the patents themselves don't necessarily tell us a lot about the actual process or the actual way that inventors were creating these inventions and putting them into use. These patents actually weren't even numbered. So today, when you receive a patent, you get a patent number, and that you often put on your product to show that you have intellectual property protection for that product. These patents were just classified by the inventor's last name, which today means we refer to them as the X patents. So if you ever come across that term, X patents, it's this period of 40 years where patents were being granted without numbers. We retroactively gave them a number and then put the number X on to differentiate them from the patent of the same theoretical number that came later. So because of that, fun fact, the first US patent and US patent number 1 were issued about 40 years apart. This system continued until the Patent Act of 1836. And there were some changes in the interim. So the Congress actually created a patent office in 1802. So an office that would be dedicated to examining or more accurately granting patents. But it started out with 1 employee. Again, a lot of work for 1 person. Eventually there became 2. but there were no dedicated patent examiners. And that's something that both Congress, inventors in the United States, and the Patent Office all advocated to change. Which leads us to the Patent Act of 1836. So this is a foundational piece of legislation in US history for the patent system. This really kind of outlined the foundations that we still rely on today. So a lot of what you see in the Patent Act of 1836, although we might do it a little differently today, it still holds true. So among the many things the Patent Act of 1836 did, it introduced the patent numbering system. So we have on our screen patent number 1, issued July of 1836, just a few days after the Patent Act was passed. It reintroduced the examination requirement. So the idea that an invention be new, useful, novel, that was reintroduced during this time frame. And in order to make sure that that was something sustainable moving forward, the Patent Act of 1836 called for the hiring of professional patent examiners. So that's the first time this job as a federal, a potential federal job existed. And does anyone want to guess how many patent examiners they hired to start out with? I heard 5, I see 3. You're pretty close. 1, you're right, sir. So the first patent examiner started about a month after the Patent Act was passed, but it took a while for the examination corps to be built to what we see today. So first it was 1, then it was 2, 4, and so on and so forth until we reached the about 10,000, a little under 10,000 patent examiners we have today. So it's still a lot of work. These patent examiners didn't specialize necessarily as much as we do today. They had to be kind of, a lot of times they practiced law, for example, so that they had a little bit of knowledge in various subjects. But they were tasked with, for the first time, coming up with a process to examine patents. And to help them with that process, the office also established a library of prior art. So when you hear about prior art searches, when you're going through your patent process, that's basically looking back at previous inventions, both patented and not patented, to see if there's something similar with the invention that's before the patent examiner that they can kind of key in on as either, was this an improvement or is this more of the, kind of what was already invented in the past? So that library, which today we have at our fingertips digitally for the most part, that library was a huge advancement with the examination of patents. Unfortunately, all those X patents I mentioned, most of them weren't part of the library of prior art because the office caught fire a few months after this Patent Act was passed and took all of the X patents with them. So of the 10,000 patents issued before 1836, we were able to recover about 2,000 of them, but the remaining 8,000 have been pretty much lost to time. So if you have a patent in your attic, let me know, especially if it's from before 1836, because I'd like to look at it. So during this period, the mid-19th century, the office was growing exponentially at this point. So for the first time, the USPTO had a dedicated home. Before we kind of shared offices with other government agencies, or we were in, kind of rented spaces within Washington, D.C. In the 1840s, we finally, as an agency, moved into the first patent office, physical space that was just dedicated to the USPTO. And this became quite a tourist attraction. Within DC, before the Smithsonian's were a common place for tourists to arrive, the U.S. Patent Office was actually the place people would go to learn about this very early American history and see some of the major artifacts that were put on display, including the Declaration of Independence, which was in the USPTO's collection for about 30 years. It was also a time period where we started issuing different types of intellectual property. So prior to this, it was only utility patents, what we now know as utility patents that were issued by the Patent Office. In 1842, the Patent Office added design patents. So have any of you either applied for or plan to apply for a design patent? All right, I've got a couple, yep. So starting in 1842, the cast iron stove inventor lobby basically really pushed for this new intellectual property type to protect the ornamental design and appearance of their products. And the result was design patents. So these obviously weren't all issued in 1842, but I have a few of our kind of famous design patents, shapes you'll recognize, products you'll recognize on the screen here to represent that. This was also a time period where people could come and see patent models at the patent office. So this is, if any of you have done a prototype for your invention, this is kind of the precursor to that, but it was something that was a requirement by the patent office at the time. So anytime between 1790 and 1880, if you submitted a patent application to the office for utility patents and some design patents, it was required for you to submit a model as well. So this basically functioned as a miniature of your invention, a working prototype that would allow the patent examiner, again, folks who might not have a background in whatever field you're in, to see how the invention works in real time. And these patent models became a very popular exhibit for people coming to the office to see the latest technologies that were being produced by American inventors. We have this quote here from Charles Dickens, who visited in 1842, so when this new office was just up and running. And he was really impressed by the immense number of patent models, especially because most of them prior to this had burned in that fire. So this shows that the patent models are not only a good way for the patent examiners to understand the product, but also a good way for people outside of the invention and kind of invention world to understand what technological progress is being made by inventors. But of course, with all this growth came some conflict and some challenges for the Patent Office. Some of you may have noticed you're sitting in Clara Barton Auditorium this morning. The reason for that is Clara Barton is actually an alumnus of the Patent Office. She started working here in 1854 as a clerk, starting her federal government career with the U.S. Patent Office. And she faced a lot of challenges. She was, at the time, one of the only women clerks in the federal government in Washington, D.C. And she was actually the first clerk to be paid an equal salary to her male colleagues within the entirety of the federal government. She had a benefactor within the Patent Office, someone who strongly believed in her work, and she did, by all accounts, exemplarily work with the Patent Office. But she faced a lot of harassment, a lot of internal persecution because of not only her gender, but this idea of her being paid equal to her male colleagues. And eventually, when her benefactor went to a different position, the person who took over for him didn't necessarily have that personal relationship and trust in Clara Barton. She was eventually demoted to the position of copyist, where she made significantly less money, and then let go during the Buchanan administration, the president just prior to Abraham Lincoln, because of her political views. She eventually did return to the Patent Office at the beginning of the Civil War, but if any of you are familiar with Clara Barton's story, she would go on to be very involved in humanitarian efforts during the war, and then later founded the American Red Cross. So she moved on to different positions following her tenure here. But she really did pave the way for other female employees within the federal government to not only obtain positions, but obtain equal positions to their male colleagues. And that kind of trailblazing persona, which is typical to Clara Barton's life, really is highlighted by her experience here at the Patent Office. And that's why we have an auditorium named after her today. I mentioned the Civil War. So obviously the Civil War is a massive disruption of pretty much every aspect of American life, and the Patent Office is no exception to that. During the Civil War, granted patent applications did continue, but they plummeted in number because the Patent Office was being used for some different purposes. So at one point, it was barracks for U.S. soldiers moving through Washington, D.C. For a period of about 13 months, it was actually a hospital for Union soldiers who were wounded or fell ill during the war. And it was actually also the site of Lincoln's second inaugural ball. So a lot of kind of shaking up of kind of experiences during the Civil War, just like experiences everywhere for Americans during the Civil War were shaken. But the Patent Office that emerged from the Civil War is something that continued to grow, expand, and build on that foundation laid by the Patent Act of 1836. So these post-war changes and expansion include a larger examination corps and the very beginnings of specialization. So some examiners would start kind of coordinating amongst themselves to examine different types of patents. This was something that eventually would be formalized in a different kind of units specializing in different patents, and today in our technology centers that we have here at the USPTO. But that started out with this kind of expansion of the patent core and the ability to do more of that work. This was also the period of time where we added trademarks to the intellectual property protections offered by the office. So 1870, the first federally registered trademark was issued. Prior to that, some states had trademark systems, but they wouldn't be applicable once you cross state lines. So this was the first time that a brand could get federal protection for their name, their logo, or other kind of unique aspects of their products. So I just put a few of our kind of trademarks that you'll recognize, if you will, that are pretty old. These both extend back to kind of the turn of the century. And you can see at this point, especially on the Cracker Jack box, intellectual property, including trademarks, was something that was kind of highlighted in the packaging and the marketing of a product. They wanted people to know. So if you can see that this is our trademark on the Cracker Jack box, in addition to the giant R. So they really wanted people to know that this was their brand, that people could trust their brand, and that this was something that they wanted to kind of continue being able to protect going forward. This was a period of time where the United States was industrializing at a very rapid rate, and people were kind of expanding, and the middle class was expanding, and people were buying more commercial products than ever before. So things like patents and trademarks became all the more important, because companies and inventors wanted to be able to establish trust in their brand, show that they had kind of that backing of the United States government saying this is something new, this is something useful, and this is something that's protected. And they were competing with other inventors, other brands, other companies that were trying to do the same thing. So we see a lot of kind of legislation of this period, a lot of kind of those foundational court cases that we even look back on today. They're occurring during this late 19th century. But what we also see is a lot of inventors, independent inventors, making their first forays into intellectual property protection. So it's not necessarily just big companies or prolific inventors like Thomas Edison at this time who are getting patents. It's also people who maybe have 1, 2, 3 patents for a specific type of invention. They saw a problem in their community and they wanted to fix that problem. So these folks are not necessarily marking inventor down as a career on their United States census form. They often come from other fields, come from other backgrounds, but they want to improve their communities and improve society as a whole, and they chose to do that through the US patent system. For that reason, we refer to this period of time as the golden age of American invention. One of the reasons people were able to do this is because patent fees in the US at that time were uniquely affordable. So in the US, a patent fee was $35, which in 1870s money was still a pretty significant amount. Not everyone had the ability to pay that fee and receive a patent for their invention. But a lot more people had $35 than they had $875, which was the fee in Great Britain at the time. So this meant that folks would be more likely to be able to engage with the patent system in the United States than other nations with robust patent protection at the time. This was also a period of time where invention was a spectacle. It was entertainment for people. So I have an image from the 1893 Chicago World's Fair where electricity lit up the fairgrounds. And for the first time for many people, this was their first time seeing electricity in action. This was very common both on a large and small scale at the time. So inventors gave public demonstrations. They became part of their brand. They became part of the marketing for their invention. Because at the time, there wasn't the internet. You couldn't just, if you needed, for example, a new hat, you couldn't just search for a new hat and kind of pick out reviews. You had to see something demonstrated in real time for people to have trust in it. So this became very important for inventors, this ability to kind of take a personal hand in marketing their invention. And because of that, you see a lot of ads in newspapers that have the inventors themselves kind of marketing their product. So with all of this, patents and inventions continued to be very important to society, not only within the technical bounds of kind of society's innovation, but also within social progress and in social movements that were important to promoting equality for all at the time. So we have a couple examples here. So Lyda Newman was a hairdresser from New York City, and she received a patent in I believe it was 1897. It was late 1800s for a hairbrush. And this hairbrush had both synthetic bristles, and it had an inner chamber that you could take apart easily and clean. So if you imagine New York City at the turn of the century, there's still horse-drawn carriages on the street, kicking up a lot of dust. Coal-burning fireplaces are the most common source of heat in the winter. There's a lot of debris. So having this ability to be able to clean her hairbrush very easily put her, as a hairdresser, ahead of her competition in a very competitive field at the time. So she made kind of this advancement to her field. This was her only patent. She wasn't an inventor by trade, but she made this advancement to her field and left that record of her improvement in the historic record. But what she's most known for is her involvement in her community. And this is the case with a lot of inventors at the time, and I think a lot of inventors now, people who are engaged in their community and trying to make things better overall. Lyda Newman led efforts by the Women's Suffrage Party in the 1910s to include African American women in New York City in the efforts for women's rights to vote. And she actually made some advancements within the movement that made her sector, her chapter of the Women's Suffrage Party very effective. She recognized that women who were mothers, and especially working mothers, would often have to choose between childcare and participating in the suffrage movement. So she established a daycare at suffragist headquarters. Seems like a really simple solution, but it was something no one else had thought of at the time. So she's using her inventive mind in order to advance another movement, another field forward. Another example of this we have is Henry Baker, another alumnus of the Patent Office. Henry Baker was an assistant patent examiner from about 1880 to 1913 or so when he retired. So a 30-plus year career at the Patent Office. And in addition to his work examining patents, he compiled the first roster of African American patent holders in U.S. history. So this list has several hundred entries. He kind of worked on it throughout his career. And today, we still use it as a vast repository of Black invention in the United States in the early, in kind of this early period of U.S. history. Henry Baker's work, because we don't collect demographic data, so you'll notice when you do your patent form, we don't ask for, your age, your race, your gender, or anything like that. His work is one of the reasons we know so much about African American inventors in U.S. history. We wouldn't have that information without his work. And his work was actually used in the civil rights movement at the time to show that Black inventors were increasing America's abilities, advancing technological progress, and deserved the equal and full rights that were kind of some de jure granted at the time, but de facto were not in the U.S. society at that time period. Again, I mentioned his work we still use today. His work was used by the civil rights movement up until the 1960s, so about 40 years after his death. So this shows that both inventors and people who work at the Patent Office can make a lasting impact on society, even outside of their technological progress. As we moved into the 20th century, the U.S. patent system continues to expand. Anyone here applied for or planning to apply for a plant patent? All right, that's not surprising. Plant patents are still not quite as frequently applied for, but they offer valuable protection for inventors in the field of agriculture who have kind of these unique cultivars of plants that they've created. So plant patents began to be issued in 1930 and will continue to be issued up until this day. And we have a couple examples. So we have one of the first two plant patents, which are both for roses, by the way. But some other things that you might recognize, this varietal of poinsettia and the Honeycrisp apple, all protected by plant patents. Leading into the mid-20th century, the Lanham Act, passed in 1947, has basically the same kind of weight in terms of foundation for the trademark system that the Patent Act of 1836 has for the patent system. So this is foundational, changed dramatically for the better, kind of in retrospect, the way that the trademark system worked, and it's something we still rely on today. And this meant brands had more tools in their toolbox. So we have an example here, the Slinky, you might recognize it. So it was actually protected initially by a patent and by a trademark. So the ability to not only protect the brand name, the packaging and selling of the product, but also how it functioned and how it worked is something a lot of inventors took advantage of in the mid to late 20th century. This is also a period of time where who was inventing and how those inventions were eventually used became kind of started to transform. So prior to this, the federal government often licensed technology, but they weren't necessarily frequent producers of technology themselves. That changed with World War II and then eventually the space race afterwards. So we have just one example here. On the left, you can see a picture of an astronaut using a cordless drill. That technology that was created by NASA for the cordless drill was eventually transferred to Black & Decker, who commercialized it and put it into our handheld vacuum that we now know as the Dustbuster. So the way of kind of taking invention that was used for one purpose and transferring it to be more commercially viable was something that became very common in this late 20th century. This led, all of these factors plus increased globalization led to a rapid increase in expansion of the patent system through the late 20th, early 21st century. So you can see on this chart, I know it's a little busy, but you can see kind of this exponential sweep up. It took about 93 years between the issuance of the patent number 1 and patent number 1 million. Took about 25 months, I believe, very short amount of time frame between patent 11 million and patent 12 million. So we're having this exponential increase of patent applications and granted patents that are coming through the office, which meant it was, once again, time to expand. So the USPTO actually outgrew about 3 different homes within the 20th century, eventually leading us to this headquarters building today. And today we do truly have a national workforce. So patent examiners telework from everywhere, including all 50 states. The American Invents Act, our most recent large piece of legislation relating to the patent system, kind of established a few things for our modern patent system that we're still kind of implementing and working forward today. So first, it established satellite or regional offices, and this graphic is actually out of date because we're actually adding a new regional office very soon to our southeast region. It added the expanded patent pro bono services, so the ability for inventors who meet a certain threshold to receive free legal help, and now we have patent pro bono services in all 50 states. Put us on the first inventor to file standard, which is put us in line with basically the rest of the world, and allowed us to hire more patent examiners through some legislative maneuvering, which meant the examination corps could be more specialized and more robust going forward, with the eventual goal of lowering pendency times. So that leads us to kind of looking towards the future. What questions do we grapple with today? What questions is a historian 100 years from now going to be telling inventors about? These are just a few. Obviously, there's a lot of various questions, but AI and emerging technologies. What place does that have in the patent system? That's something that we're actively having discussions on, and we don't have answers yet on today. International perspectives, so in an increasingly globalized world, where does this idea of a national intellectual property system fit in? How do we inspire the next generation of inventors? So the people who are going to be sitting in your shoes or in the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 50 years, how do we inspire them? And then finally, how does intellectual property and the intellectual property of the past fit in with these current questions? Intellectual property can tell us a few things. First off, that most inventions, the vast majority, are incremental progress over time. So improvements on things that drive our society forward. We can tell from the past what was important to people and why, as reflected through the patent and trademark system. So what questions were they trying to answer? What problems were they trying to solve? Can we see some trends within the patent system? That's all something that we can do today as well. We can see that innovation is all around us. So this is something I think you as inventors are probably very aware of, but for the vast majority of the American public, they're probably not. They don't realize how many times they use something that has patented technology or interact with something that has a trademark. But by looking kind of historically at the foundations of all of these commonly used products today, we can appreciate just how much innovation touches our daily lives. And then finally, we come back to this question of how can we inspire the next generation? I believe by telling stories of the people who have been in our shoes, telling stories of people who have common experiences, kind of these universal concepts of struggle, of overcoming challenges, of believing in themselves and in something greater. That can really help us connect invention, sometimes an abstract and big concept, to this next generation. So with that, I think we're about at time. But if you do want more history, you can check out our website, uspto.gov/about-us/history. We've got some resources on there as well. I would encourage you all every month to check out our Journeys of Innovation series. It's basically every month we feature on our website a story about either contemporary or historic inventor or entrepreneur who did a little bit about their personal journey. And then follow us on social media. We're on all the typical platforms, and we post about historical subjects fairly frequently. So thank you all for your time. I'm going to turn things back over to Elizabeth, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to also email me at historian@uspto.gov, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So have a great time today, and enjoy being at USPTO headquarters. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Becky. And I see an upcoming session on Brian's online platform on USPTO History starring Becky Oakes. You heard it here first. We are now going to transition into a focus on patents. And how are we going to do that? Well, we could provide you with the typical presentation, but we thought we'd do something a little bit different. We thought we would go ahead and introduce patents to you through the lens of those people who handle them each and every day in the U.S. Patent Examining Corps. Our Patent Examining Corps is made up of over 8,500 trained engineers and scientists who serve their country every day and who are moving American innovation forward. They come from a variety of walks of life, with a variety of diverse technical skills and backgrounds. Some of them have bachelor's, master's, PhDs. Some of them have been in industry or academic institutions. Many of them are inventors themselves. Some of them are attorneys additionally. But we have brought together a great panel for you today that is going to be led by my colleague and friend, Alford Kindred. Alfred has come up through the ranks, starting as a U.S. patent examiner, transitioned to being a supervisory patent examiner, and now holds the title of Technology Center Director. So he is one of our senior executive leaders here at the agency. I'm going to turn the podium over to Alford and let him welcome his panel and have them each introduce themselves and tell you of their path to the USPTO. Don't be afraid to ask them questions, though. The point of this panel is for you to talk to the people who are examining your applications. What makes for best practices when applying for a patent? How should they engage with you through the patent prosecution process? They are here to share their insights and thoughts. And I'll tell you, the group that we've brought together today have been doing this for a substantial amount of time and some really interesting technologies. So Alfred.
Hi, everyone. Whoop, there we go. Hi, everyone. I know we've been streaming for about an hour and a half now, and there's a panel that's coming up that's a day in the life of being an examiner. looking at your patent applications and handling office actions and all those type of things that patent examiners do. And then after that, there's also trademark basics, which is fantastic. So what we're going to do right now, let me see if Samantha can come in also. Hi, Samantha. It's getting a little late. We still have a bunch of people in the app and streaming on many of the social media channels. But what we're going to do is we're going to continue this in the app. So for those of you who are not in the app yet, we can post it. Andy or Samantha, we can post it. I can also. You go to the Inventor Smart Community app and you can download it. There's also a web app version, so it's downloadable on Google Play and Apple App Store. And we will have the video in there for you to watch the rest of it. And maybe we'll take clips of some of the other segments, but we always have people from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office coming on and giving some great advice. So what do you think, Samantha? I think you're on mute there. Oh, you're on mute there. Yep.
Pardon me, guys. I'm muted. I love the beginning talking about the history of the USPTO. I thought that was fascinating. But you and I both know there's so much more, right? The panel, the questioning, there's so much more. So I would encourage people at your leisure, at your time, to get back in there, click that link, and watch this whole presentation. It's fantastic.
Sounds good. And we have a bunch of events that are happening in the Inventor Smart Community app in February. Live streaming, and then in March we're going to be in Chicago at the Inspired Home Show. So a lot of activity going on. We don't want to keep you here all night. So thank you, everybody. Yes, Samantha.
I just had a question when we were talking about that pitching the products. Is everybody eligible for that, or can you do a prototype, or do you have to have a full working product in inventory? Do you know that question yet?
I do. You do not have to be exhibiting in the inventors area, and you are welcome to share a prototype.
Okay.
A finished product, whatever you like, to the Pitching the Pros panel.
Pitching the Pros.
Yep. So
Okay.
if you did want to find out more information about the Inspired Home Show, you're more than welcome to connect up with myself, Samantha, in the app, on any of the social media that we're connected with, that we're seeing you on right now. And then I'll be interviewing Lori from the Inspired Home Show next week. And we'll kind of have a fireside chat to give the inventors a little bit deeper of an insight of what to expect and talk about previous shows and what's in store for this year.
Again, a great opportunity that you're bringing to this community, Brian. Thank you for bringing this. And if you're in the area and you're in the Midwest, let's meet up in Chicago. I love Chicago. It's so much fun.
Yeah, we're definitely going to make some noise in the app, and whoever's available to either fly in or drive and attend the show or not attend the show, but we'll be getting together somewhere near the McCormick Place, I should say. And I have Madison Square Garden here, but you have McCormick Place there. So we will keep in touch, and thank you everybody for joining us. Continue our conversations in the Inventor Smart Community app. Samantha, thank you again. Andy, thank you behind the scenes. And Sean, hope you're feeling better. We'll see you soon.
All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
So good.